Hi everyone, and welcome to tonight's session, a wonderful Wednesday. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere with me, I hope that you have had a lovely day and are relaxing this evening. And for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope that you are having a wonderful start to your day. As you join me in tonight's session, please let me know where you are listening in from: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, UK, America. I always love knowing where you are listening in from. So tonight is about your potential. Now, there would have been times in your life where you wanted to try a career or you wanted to take up a hobby, and someone judged you, or someone criticized you, or someone overpromised and underdelivered on the opportunity. And you might be at a point where you are doubting yourself, or you're criticizing yourself, and you're wondering if you should even bother with pursuing that career. Or should you even bother with pursuing that hobby? Now, potential is all about trying something and you actually being quite good at it and surprising yourself and surprising others with how good you can be at it. One time I was watching an episode of The Cook and the Chef, and the only reason why Maggie Beer actually even became a cook was because her and her husband decided to rear pheasants back in the 70s, I believe, and they were having problems to sell the pheasants because no one actually knew how to cook the pheasants. So for Maggie, it was about, I need to figure out how to cook my pheasants. I need to teach other people how to cook my pheasants so that they'll love eating pheasant and they'll want to keep buying pheasants, and that we can make a business out of having pheasants. And if Maggie didn't consider teaching people, would we even have the Maggie Beer of The Cook and the Chef, and who's had, many appearances on MasterChef and the Great Australian Bake Off? Would we have the wonderful Maggie Beer if she didn't figure out how to make people love her pheasants? And that is tapping into her potential. She was friends with Stephanie Alexander, and Stephanie Alexander was an incredible mentor to her throughout her entire career. And Maggie doesn't consider herself a chef. She does truly consider herself as a country cook who, her husband had opened a business, rearing pheasants, and she had to figure out a way to make people want to buy the pheasants and eat them. And if you watch Jim Carrey's movie Yes Man, he was a very cynical, very closed-minded man. And then he went to that conference, and, the presenter of the conference, challenged him and put a curse on him that if he says no, bad things will happen, but if he says yes, good things will happen. And throughout the movie, you see how the things that he said yes to, you see how he's then able to use those skills. So he learns Korean. And then there's a scene where he's been tasked with planning, his best friend's fiance's hen's night. And the shop that he goes into, the shopkeeper speaks Korean. And Jim Carrey's character has learned to speak Korean, and he's able to have a conversation in Korean and really light up that girl's day. And she's happy to help them because of how Jim Carrey's character communicates with her. There's another scene where Jim Carrey said yes to learning to play the guitar. And there's a scene where a guy's sitting on his like apartment window ledge, and like there's everyone is on the street and they're like, oh, he's going to jump. And, you know, Jim Carrey runs up to the guy's room and, you know, the guy has a guitar in his room and Jim Carrey's character plays a song on the guitar and helps stop that man from jumping. If Jim Carrey's character in Yes Man, if he didn't try things and see what happens, he may not have been able to help his best friend's fiance, you know, have an incredible wedding hens night experience. And he may not have been in a position to save that man. Now, I know that's a movie, and I know that those are really crazy examples. However, tapping into your potential allows you to become the best version of yourself. It allows you to become the happiest, healthiest version of yourself. If you're someone who loves to bake, I used to go to a gym and worked out with this beautiful lady. She made my 30th birthday cake. I'm Mrs. Claus. Sorry, that's my nickname. I'm like Mrs. Santa. No, I'm Mrs. Claus. And so my birthday cake was a Nutella reindeer, like a Rudolph. And I was absolutely blown away. It was like 3 layers of like chocolate with like a Nutella filling. And, you know, we had it for dinner that night at my birthday. And then I got to take like this huge cake home. And she's like, every time you cut a piece, put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds and the taste will go to the next level. Oh, it was so good. And so, you know, she's opened a business. She works from home and she teaches other people how to bake and how to cook. And she's turned that into a business. If she didn't realize her potential, that she's an amazing baker and there is a business in baking, because if you love eating sweets but you're not a baker, you will pay someone to just bake your sweets for you. My housemate has a friend who she had to have back surgery, but hopefully in the next few months she'll be able to start up again. And she makes like these delicious mini sweets. Like she makes caramel slice, and she has made like some, he brought home like a 6-pack of things and they just look amazing. So your hobbies, things that you love to do, they could be a business venture. They could be your new career. Because when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. It's corny, but it's true. If you love being a lawyer, you happily are in court all day because that's what you love to do. Hey, Catherine. How is it? Oh, you're up late. How is it in New Zealand for you, lovely? You know, if you're a doctor and you love being a doctor, you will work crazy hours because you love it. If you're a writer, you will spend hours and hours at your computer or in your notebook and you will write a whole novel in a matter of weeks because that's what you love to do. J.K. Rowling, you have to remember, and I think a lot of people forget this, you have to remember that J.K. Rowling was like an English tutor when she wrote Harry Potter. And you have to remember that J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times. It was the 13th publisher that said, you know what, I think you have something here. What would the world be like if J.K. Rowling, after the first or second or third rejection, was like, oh, maybe this story is shit. Oh, what was I thinking trying to be a writer? If you believe and you are so convicted, and remember, the true word of conviction is that you know yourself to your innermost core, that no one can change what you think about yourself. When you are so convicted about what you love to do, you can turn it into a business. Oh my gosh, Catherine, a world without Harry Potter. Oh my gosh, that's like a world without Twilight. It's just not a world you want to be in. Or a world without Jane Austen. No, I could not handle a world without Jane Austen. But your potential is, look at the things you love to do. Look at the things that light you up. Are you a green thumb? And anything you plant just grows. Like, you plant flowers and they're the biggest, most beautiful, most brightest colored flowers. Can you plant any seedling and you have the most delicious, biggest, best vegetables in the whole world. There are a number of communities that shopping centers have a garden on their roof that members of the community grow their vegetables on the supermarket roof and sell their produce to the supermarket. That's a business. And those people love tending to their gardens. A lot of communities have rallied together and reclaimed urban wastelands and turned them into community gardens where everyone's got a 2 by 2 square meter plot, and you go to your plot every day and you teach your children how to grow their own produce. And you might agree as a cohort, okay, I'm going to grow tomatoes, I'm going to grow zucchinis, I'm going to grow spinach, I'm going to grow rhubarb, I'm going to grow radishes, and you come together and you make, fruit and vegetable baskets and you exchange your produce with each other as a community. That's a business. So I want you to start looking at your passions and I want you to start looking at your hobbies. You might be someone that you actually know how to melt wax and, you actually know how to make beautiful candles where you've got like 1 stem or 2 stem or 3 stems. And you actually know how to mix essential oils into a candle mixture and you know how to make scented candles. That's a business. I love candles. Matt does Scentsy, so we've got the wax melts in our warmer that's plugged into the wall. That's a business if you know how to do that. Hey Reagan, how's Queensland going for you? I used to always go to the Queen Victoria Market and I remember this stall and it was, just greeting cards, but like the paper had been cut that it was like a pop-up card and it was all different events and celebrations, weddings and birthdays and travel and get well, and they were just such beautiful cards. If you know how to do that, that's a business. And if you love doing that, you love making greeting cards, that's a business. If you're someone that you know how to make recycled paper, that it's got all like the beautiful bits and pieces of what you use to make the recycled paper, and then from that you know how to make gift wrap or you know how to make recycled paper greeting cards, that's a business because recycled paper looks beautiful and it's handmade. So it takes that card or that wrapping paper to the next level because the person knows someone took the time to make this paper. So look at your hobbies. Look at what lights you up as a business, as a means of sharing with the world. I'm old enough to remember when Tony Robbins was a nobody, okay? Tony Robbins is a massive deal. You can't have a one-on-one session with Tony for anything less than $100,000. Like if you want an hour of Tony's time, you better have $100,000 to work with. But I'm old enough to remember when he was a nobody, when he was just a fat slob on the couch who had his epiphany moment of he needed to change his life. He got healthy, he lost the weight, he learnt all about neuro-linguistic programming, and he worked his ass off to be the man, the myth, the legend that we all know today, that people have paid, $10,000-$20,000 to attend a seminar or an event with him, that people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have him coach them. So tapping into your potential. You might be a very intuitive person. You might go and do a tarot course, and universe just uses you as a funnel, and you are just so accurate that when you read someone's tarot, it's like you've just looked into their soul and you just know everything about them, and you blow their mind with knowing things that you shouldn't know. That's a business. And if you love doing tarot, if you love doing angel cards, that's how you can share with the world. If you love to cook, I keep telling my stepmom, if she ever retires from her job, she needs to be a freaking caterer. People would pay for the meals my mom makes. Her sausage casserole, her curried sausages, her chicken broccoli pasta, her minestrone soup. I keep saying you need to be a caterer woman. People would pay for your meals. So if you love to cook, figure out how to have a food license and be a meal prepping service. I used to know someone, he's a chef. Well, he was a chef at the Crown. With COVID, who knows? But he was a chef by day. And then he had his side business where he meal prepped for people. So he would make like their breakfast or their lunch or their dinner, and he would put it in packs, and he had his label of what the meal was. And they were delicious meals. Like he would do salmon or he would do steak and vegetables. Like you would tell him what you like to cook and he would make your meals for you. And they were all well balanced and portioned because he had that nutrition thing, and he loved going to the gym and being fit and active. And his passion for cooking, he turned into a legitimate side business on top of being a chef at a restaurant. So your potential is really looking at what makes you happy, what makes you content, what makes you joyful, what makes you fulfilled. When Matt and I went to Perth, he organised this beautiful day trip for us. We went to the Pinnacles, and our guide was from New Zealand, and she had moved to Western Australia, and she loved driving. Like road trips was her thing. She loved driving. And each stop that we went to, she had all this knowledge, and she'd only been doing the job for, I think she said like 18 months that she'd been in WA doing this job. So to have all that knowledge about a state that, or a country you've only been in for 18 months, and she had Aboriginal knowledge as well and no Aboriginal heritage. She was tapping into her potential. She loved travel, she loved road trips, and it was a business, being a guide and driving people up to the Hangover Bay and the Pinnacles, and did we go to the Yuyangs? Reagan, is the Yuyangs? I'm trying to remember. We went to Hangover Bay, and we went to somewhere that was like a big park and it had a cave, and then we went to the Pinnacles. But it was an amazing day. And, that was her tapping into her potential. So I really want you to start looking at, what are you passionate about? What makes you happy? What are your hobbies that you do outside of work that you could turn into a business? And it doesn't have to be a full-fledged business. You might just have a market on the weekend, but you are sharing your joy and your passion with the world. Matt doing Sensi, Halloween, I got to get Jack Skellington and Sally. And I absolutely love having them in my office. And every time I see them, they just light me up. And, you know, the person who created Scentsy, that's their passion. That's their joy. And, you know, creating a product that helps children with separation anxiety, that helps children, you know, it's, these buddies, they're almost like a blankie. And they've got their own Scentsy pouches in them. So every time I walk past Sally and Jack, they make me happy. And I also, the smell makes me happy. Hey, Sky. So tapping into your potential. You might love, rock climbing. And you might be really good at rock climbing. And so you take people and you teach people how to rock climb. You know, Bear Grylls. He was, you know, he is a former Marine, but, you know, he's now for 15 or 20 years, he's, you know, had his reality TV show Running Wild. And now he takes celebrities out into the wild, into different parts of the world for 1 to 2 days and teaches them survival skills and takes them out of their comfort zone. And every single one of them has thanked Bear for the incredible experience. You know, Bear's marine training and his love for the outdoors, it's a business. He's a brand. He's a business. And that's his passion. And he loves it. He gets such a thrill out of seeing, whether it's a super fan or whether it's a celebrity, seeing them conquer fears, seeing them do things they've never done before. And that's his joy and that's his passion. And he gets a real good thrill out of it. It's a business. So, what is your potential? You might learn to play a musical instrument. You may never play in an orchestra, but your music will soothe you, or your music will bring joy to your family. Or if you go on a cruise and you go into, you know, one of the jazz bars and you ask for permission to play the piano, and, you know, you get to have fun on a cruise playing the piano. Or, you know, maybe you join the band for a day and just have fun with that musical instrument. Speaking a second language. You may never be an interpreter. You may never be a translator, but you might be able to go to a French restaurant and order French food and have an incredible experience. Or you might be able to go to a Chinese restaurant and order in Mandarin and have an amazing experience. When I watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, the main character chose to learn Russian because in the 60s, the Russians were the chess players of the world. So she learned to speak Russian, and there's a few scenes where the Russians are talking about her and she understands every word of their conversation, but they have no idea that she knows Russian fluently. And then there's another scene where she's asked a question in English and she answers it in Russian, and you just see the look on the Russian man's face, and he's like, he has that light bulb moment of like, oh shit, she heard us in the elevator. And it's so great, tapping into your potential. Watching The Queen's Gambit, I did not realize how massive the chess world is. I didn't realize the massive amounts of prize money. I didn't realize the championships and the competitions that are played at a state level, at a national level, and at an international level. And chess is a hobby that can turn into a sport if you choose it, and you can become one of the best. You can become a grand master, and people watch your games, people learn from your games, and to play against you is an honor, and even to lose against you is an honor, to be in the presence of a grand master. So tapping into your potential. Every athlete, whether it's an AFL player or it's a volleyball player or soccer or netball or swimming or archery or any of the winter sports, whether it's, the bobsled or it's the snowboarding or it's the aerial skiing or the speed skating. Every single one of those athletes started doing that sport as a hobby on top of their schoolwork, as a hobby on top of their job, as a hobby on top of their university studies. And because they got very, very good at it, because they loved to do it, they were able to turn it into a career and be a sportswoman, a sportsman, and get paid really good money for doing something they love to do. So my question to you is, what makes you happy? That's a hobby. What makes you joyful? That's a hobby. What makes you content and fulfilled? That is a hobby that you could turn into a side hustle, that you could turn into your career, that you could share with the world and impact the world with what you love to do. Something that is fun for you could be quite challenging and complex for someone else. There are people out there that they are numbers people. Whew, they love themselves some numbers. Me, goes over my head. They talk a whole nother language and it don't make no sense. They're talking English, they're using English words, but they might as well be speaking gibberish because I don't understand a word of it. But talk to me about food or anime or cross-stitching or comic stuff. I can probably talk to you all day because I know what my passions are. I know what makes me happy. I know what makes me joyful. I know what makes me content, and I know what makes me fulfilled. And I really want you to experience that for yourselves. I want you to be happy, joyful, content, fulfilled, because that brought together, you are your best, happiest, healthiest version of yourself, and you are living the kick-ass life. Hey, Annalie, thank you for joining us. I'm just about to wrap up, so please do jump onto the replay because tonight was all about tapping into your potential, your hobbies and things that you like to do, and potentially turning that into a side hustle or as your new career, because when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I want to thank you all for joining me in tonight's session, or for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, this morning's session. I always value and appreciate you taking time out of your evening or time out of your morning to be with me. It does really make me happy and light up my day that I can put value into your life. So as you know, I never pre-plan the next day's session, so I really do look forward to joining you in tomorrow night's session, 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you wish to join me with my Power Talk meditation, I will see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Have a wonderful Wednesday night for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Have a wonderful Wednesday for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. As always, be safe, be well, much love.